Hey guys, this is Sarah, and today I'm going to be talking about my October TBR. So it actually took me a really long time to settle on my October TBR. A lot of people are doing spooky books, and I'm a big, giant, scaredy cat, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to read scary or creepy or weird stuff, but at the end, my friend Demi from Bookish Elves told me she was doing it too, so I decided to be brave and actually ended up with more books than I thought I would. So this month I'm thinking of reading 17 books. Because of their content, obviously I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to read them all or even a little bit, because they're all either creepy, weird, or scary, or at least my level of scary. So I don't know if I'm going to get through all of them, but I'm going to try. I'm going to do it. The first 3 books that I've already read, because they're short and I spent the past 2 days reading them, are the last 3 books in the Seer series by Linda Joy Singleton. They are Swordplay, Fatal Charm, and Magician's Muse. So it's definitely one of my favorite fantasy series. I absolutely love it. It's just so good. The 4th book that I'm reading this month, I started today, and it is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This is an adult fiction fantasy book, and it is about these 2 friends named Victor and Eli who in their last year of university have to do a thesis. And they start doing a thesis about extraordinary people, which basically is people with extra powers. When they get to the experimental part of their thesis, something goes horribly wrong. 10 years later, Victor escapes out of prison and is looking for revenge. This is all I know about this book. I tried to go in as blind as possible because it looks like there's a lot of backstory and history between the characters and that we're going to find out. So I don't want to load myself with reviews or with opinions because it could get a little complicated. This is the October book of the month for Katrina's at Little Book Owl. Her book club is called Little Book Club on Goodreads, so I decided to get it out of the way as the first one. The next 3 books that I am reading, I heard from Lindsay at Lindsay Hart's Books. She did her October TBR for this month, and she talked about the 2nd book in the series. They are Splintered, The Moth in the Mirror, which is a novella, and Unhinged by A.G. Howard. The first book talks about this girl named Alyssa Gardner who starts hearing whispers of bugs and flowers, which is the affliction that got her mom into a mental hospital a few years ago. They say that this is a family curse from Alice Lindell, which was the inspiration from Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. When Alyssa's mother's house gets worse, she finds out that this Wonderland is not fake, and it's a lot worse than Lewis Carroll ever thought. I am super excited to read this book. She says it's kind of weird and creepy, and it sounds really interesting. I love retellings, especially retellings of Alice in Wonderland, because it's one of my favorite fairy tales. The next book that I decided to read is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I decided to give myself some contemporary breaks between these scary books so I could calm down and decompress and then dive right back into scary books. This book is about Laura Jean, who has never admitted her crushes. Instead, she has written each boy a letter, sealed it, and hid it in a box underneath her bed. Somehow, she finds out that these letters got mailed to each boy, and each of them comes to confront her about these letters. Jenny Han is a big favorite of mine. I love her summer series. My mom and I both read it, and we both fell in love with it, so I'm actually really excited to read this book. A lot of people have liked it, and there's a lot of positive reviews, so I'm super excited. The next book I am reading is called Welcome to the Dark House by Lori Forrest Dollars. She's one of my favorite authors. She wrote the Blue is for Nightmare series, which I own, and it's one of my favorite series. This book is about 7 people or students or young people who write in these essays to see this director's new project. These essays are about their biggest fears. When they get to the point where they get to meet everyone and find out the prizes and stuff, things get a little strange. I think that's what the book's about. The synopsis is kind of confusing. I don't want to give a lot of it away because the synopsis is pretty long and talks about a few of the characters. I am a little nervous to read this book. The next 2 books is the Between duology by April Genevieve Tucholk. It's Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea and Between the Spark and the Burn. This story talks about Violet White and her younger brother who live in this little seaside town. They are alone in this big huge mansion because their parents are off in Paris and they are running out of money. They can't pay their bills, so they decide to rent out their guest house. And who rents out their guest house but River West? And this guy turns out to be none other than the devil. I've heard a lot of great things about this duology. I saw Cassidy Bonche's review, and I'm really excited to read it. It sounds really creepy and interesting, so let's see what happens. The next 2 books that I'm going to read are Anna Dressed in Blood and Girl of Nightmares by Kendra Blake. The first book is about this guy named Cass who is a ghost hunter. He comes from a long line of ghost hunters. His father was one. And he goes around the country with his crazy mom and spirit-sniffing cat to search for ghosts to send them on their merry way. They come to this town where they talk about a local ghost named Anna Dressed in Blood, and they say that she kills anyone who enters her late house, but she doesn't kill him. Obviously, this sounds creepy and bloody and interesting because I love stories where people from 2 different places meet, like ghost and human. So I'm really excited to see what it's about. Last but not least, the next 3 books are the John Cleaver series by Dan Wells. It includes I Am Not a Serial Killer, I Don't Want to Kill You, and Mr. Monster. This series is about a guy named John Cleaver who has the potential to become a serial killer. He knows this, so he sets up rigid rules for himself and isolates himself from society until something happens which threatens this isolation and his rigidity, so he has to confront it. Based on the title, actually this is the one that I'm more scared to read. Don't know if I'm going to get there. Obviously this would be at the end of the month next to and close to Halloween. So I don't know if I'll have the guts to actually do it. I will at some point because it sounds really interesting and it's mystery, thriller. But I don't know if combining this trilogy with Halloween is the best idea I've ever had. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I hope you like this video. Let me know what you're going to read this month, what you're going to do on Halloween. Add me on social media. The links are below. And I'll see you next time. Bye.